to be presented with the cup by a Glasgow man, Lord Provost Gray of Glasgow, and that cup is going back to Edinburgh tonight. The final handshake, and there you are.
Scottish League Cup, and holding it, the Hibs captain, Pat Stanton, and with him, John Blackley, the defender. I think we could call you that even after today, John. Congratulations to both of you. Pat, it seemed to be a game of two halves in that old phrase. The game seemed to change entirely in the second half.
Well, at half-time our manager changed the tactics once again.
What specifically was a change?
He just moved Alec Edwards to the right wing, Arthur Duncan to the left wing.
Led Turnbull's Tornadoes to glory at Hampden against Celtic. What do you remember about the League Cup run of 1972?
I don't remember much about the earlier rounds, but I think we beat Rangers in the semi-final. I think we played very well in that. But I think when we got to that stage, there was a chance that because we'd had our disappointments before that. You know, we'd played in cup finals and just hadn't turned up on the day and let ourselves down and the fans down, and you know, and we're talking about a real good team here. We just didn't do it on the day, and that was our fault. Nobody else's, not the managers, us. And but when we got to that stage, we had a couple of bad results against the Celtic in cups before that. But that particular day, they had a real good side, but so did we. The scoreline was 2-1, but that could easily have been 5 or 6 for the Hibs that day, because Hibs gave them a real chasing.
Was the fact that the team you were playing against, managed by your former manager Jock Stein, did that play on anyone's minds heading into the match?
Not really. It's just you know, a friend of mine not so long ago, he was looking at a tape of that game, and you know, he says, I didn't realise what a great game it was, and the pace it was, and the pace of the game. He says, and everywhere you looked on the park, there was real good players. You know, Kenny Dalglish, Danny McGrain, David Hay, Billy McNeil, and then you had the Hibs side. You know, Brownley, Cropley, Alan Gordon, John Blackley, Alec Edwards, people like that. Two real, you know, Jimmy ORourke, two real good teams. And it was the chap says to me, I didn't realise what a great game it was, and the players involved and the whole thing about it. But that was a great game, that.
So you mentioned the players there. If we can just quickly go through the Hibernian lineup that day, starting firstly with the goalkeeper Jim Harriet. What was he like as a character and as a player?
Well, I think he was like a lot of goalkeepers. I think he was an eccentric. You know, other people would say mad, but he was just a really good goalkeeper. And one thing about goalkeepers, I find that they're great trainers. They're real good trainers, goalkeepers. But Jim, on his day, was capable. You know, it's like any goalie, he would make mistakes. But on his day, he played for Scotland. He was a real good goalkeeper, Big Jim. Real good goalie.
And moving along to number 2, obviously John Brownley. What was he like as off the pitch and on the pitch?
Off the pitch, big, easy going, funny. A really nice chap, John Brownley, but in my opinion, one of the best players I've ever played with.
A lot of people have said potentially the best right back that Hibernia have ever had. Would you agree with that? Terrific.
Even Alec Ferguson picks him out as being, you had John Dobbin, and if he'd avoided that injury that he got here, no telling what he was going to do. Now for Alec Ferguson to say that, you're a good player.
Obviously number 3, Eric Shadler, a great Hibernian left back.
Different from Brownley. Brownley was outstanding, and just an outstanding player. You know, Eric was more, you know, his strength was defence. John could defend, but he was great going forward, John. But Eric, terrific, strong, quick, did what he was good at, kept it at that. He didn't try to be a Brownley, but he could be a Brownley. You know, very few could. But I remember when Eric first came here, Stirling Albion he came from. Billy McFarlane had been manager at Stirling Albion, and he was telling us about this left back that he had. And we were thought this was a cross between Tommy Gemmell and Fichetti. But he came, he was raw, but he was willing, and I remember we played Gornik, the Polish team out there, and I think that was one of his first games. And a ball had dropped between one of the Polish players and Peter Cormack, and he clattered Peter. I think Peter got carried off. And you could see the Poles looking at one another and saying, well, if that's what he's done to one of his own players, what's he got to do to us? But terrific player, turned out to be a very popular player here. You know, wholehearted, kept what he was good at. He got the ball, gave it to other players. But when Eric tackles you, you knew all about it. But and a nice fella, a really nice lad.
Obviously, you were wearing the number 4 shirt that day, and number 5 was Jim Black. Can you tell our viewers a bit more about Jim?
Big Jim, well, they got him from Airdrie. Just a big, steady centre half. Same again, didn't try to do anything clever, just he was there to stop. He was terrific in the air, great tackler, strong, very strong man. A big honest player. Yeah, he was a really good buy. A great buy for the Hibs, Jim Black.
And then obviously his near namesake, John Blackley, at number 6.
Well, same again, John, terrific player, a great player. Still see John from time to time, still the same. You know, you hear people talking about hard tacklers. You know, you get your Norman Hunters and all these other tough players. You know, the Tommy Smiths of Liverpool, and really tough, great players, tough tacklers. John Blackley was as hard as anybody. I've seen him, you know, really sorting people out. You know, one thing about John Blackley, you saw him coming, and he was honest with it. But and I can remember even Drew Busby of the Hearts, he was no shrinking violet, and he points out there was a game we played against him, and something happened, and he was at Blackley's mercy. You know, Blackley could have really done it the way the things had shaped out, and he didn't. And Busby spoke about that, saying that he realised that Blackley had just said no.
Do you feel that the sort of robust players within the team then enabled the sort of playmakers to do their job? There was the right blend.
There was like I say, Bromley on one side, Shadler on the other side, and there was a balance there among the players.
Then obviously moving on to number 7, one of your fellow midfielders, Alec Edwards, obviously an all-time great here at Easter Road. What was your recollections of playing with him?
Oh, Alec, they got him, Alex from Dunfermline, but Alec was a terrific player. You know, when you consider something you see in the papers at the present, you know, guy getting inducted into the Hall of Fame for 50 caps or more, he never got one. Absolute disgrace. You know, terrific player. You know, he could lose his temper a wee bit, you know, and teams played in that, but outstanding ability, terrific player, a typical Fifer. Yeah.
Moving on to number 8, and somebody that you probably know better than anyone else in the squad, Jimmy ORourke, your old school pal and obviously teammate here at the Hibs. How would you describe Jimmy?
Mr. Hibs. That's Jimmy. I remember, you know, Jimmy. I remember watching Jimmy's debut here, and he had almost come straight for, I think it was against Utrecht, and I think he had almost come for school football. It seemed that way, from school football to first team football. Terrific player, really terrific player. He was my schoolmate, he was my teammate, he was my roommate, he was a godparent to one of my boys. I've known Jimmy for years and years, but some great times with him. But a real good player, a very bright player. You know, he was a bustler. He could score goals. When he got through in front of goal, he was a great finisher. But he was an intelligent player. He maybe didn't get credit for that. But I played behind him often enough to see it. Well, he moaned a lot as well. But like I say, we go back a long time, and it's. But I mean that about him. You know, if you're talking about great Hibs people, you'll not go far past Jimmy ORourke.
Obviously a very lively character and perhaps the heart and soul of the team. When he was sold, do you feel that was the beginning of the end for the Tornadoes?
Well, maybe so. Maybe, you know, we didn't realise how sort of